Welcome to the March to a Million podcast with Greg DuPont, founder of the Wealth Solutions Network. In this podcast, Greg shares his journey to positively impact 1 million lives by creating an army of financially minded attorneys who embrace an expanded role in their clients' lives. Greg and his guests challenge the status quo in the legal profession and the financial services industry, and show attorneys how they can improve their lives, provide greater value to their clients, and experience greater professional satisfaction. Join us in this movement and strengthen your business by learning how to solve your clients' most pressing financial problems.
Hello and welcome to another March to a Million podcast with your host, Greg DuPont. Today, we are talking about the big picture from practitioner to legacy builder. Now, if you're listening to this right now, chances are you didn't go to law school just to crank out documents until you retire. You actually want impact and you want legacy. And if you're like most estate planning attorneys, you want a practice that works for you, not the other way around. So today we're kicking off a journey that's going to change the way you think about work, your clients, your practice, and your future. Greg, welcome to the show.
Hey, Matt. I am so excited to get started on this next 10 episode journey with you. You know, I sat back and reflected that we managed to make it right past our episode number 50 without ever recognizing that. We had such great guests on that we've been able to talk to and find out such good stuff on we've gotten away from some of the core of the story of WSN, the story of the ability to transform people's lives, not only our clients, but our own practices. And so I made a commitment that, hey, we're going to kind of go back to the basics a little bit on this and dig in a little bit on what it is that WSN, specifically what we're doing for the attorneys and in the community, the March to a Million, all that, and how this can be used by the attorneys that are listening to avoid the plateau that many estate planning attorneys find themselves at. You know many estate planning attorneys and financial advisors, and I, obviously I know hundreds of them at this point in my journey, and you've seen it from the financial advisory side. Kind of people get comfortable or whatever as the estate planner ends up being a scrivener for a couple of good lead flow sources and ends up becoming beholden to that financial advisor group and all those kind of things. And so what we want to do in our chat here, the next handful of episodes, is to kind of peel back that onion and address some of those concerns and how the tools that we're creating here and have created will empower attorneys that want to be estate planners, but more importantly, want to be part of the movement to protect this, what was to be the unprecedented generational transfer of wealth from what I fear will be the unprecedented confiscation of generational wealth.
Yeah. So it's funny that you're talking about, the fact that, I live in the world of financial advising and you have your, feed in both financial advising and also estate planning, but why they plateau is very similar, right? They do kind of just rest on their laurels, and they just kind of do the grind. So let's talk about the plateau.
There's a significant difference though with the plateau that a financial advisor reaches and an estate planning attorney reaches. The estate planning attorney reaches a plateau where they've gotten a fairly good revenue stream of referrals from people in the financial world, maybe referrals from existing clients, but the attorneys I know closely and have known closely, have no strategy to really manage and bring clients back in to build their practice. And so when you talk about that kind of that plateau, when you're a financial advisor, well, will they plateau out with, shall we say, complacency?
Yes.
And laziness.
Yep.
And a book that is generating, 6 figures of income for them, start January 1 of each year, as long as they don't screw it up.
Very
Right?
true.
And
Yeah.
you think about an estate planning attorney, many of them, struggle to be into the six figures in an estate planning practice.
Mm.
And it's each month or each year, they start at zero as opposed to building on. And so now what happens is, they've built this transactional practice. Maybe every once in a while they have some cash flow surplus that they throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. Just like a financial advisor throws money at the wall, see what sticks. Difference is when the financial advisor throws that money, then they have a higher profit payout than the attorney, and that's the way that system's built up. That system's built up based upon commissions to be able to afford to do the advertising and marketing, as opposed to the legal system, which, well, at its foundation, doesn't like advertising and marketing. So they end up being reactive. They end up providing transactional services, and they've got no scalable, repeatable client experience from the legal side.
I've always been leery of businesses that don't have a reoccurring revenue model when you're unemployed right after that last sale, right? I mean, that's got to be wildly stressful too for attorneys. And it puts a lot of stress on everybody on their team, doesn't it?
Yeah, and when you think about it, the legal profession, since it's cloaked in profession, in the stolid belief that it's not the right thing to run it as a business, too many attorneys are trained not to run as a business. They're trained not to try to upsell the client. God forbid you gave them more of what they need, right? And obviously going back until the 70s, they weren't even able to advertise for the work because they were of such high regard. And it's just bad business. Bad business all around. It's that trope that attorneys tell themselves, or it's lore fed down from the elders, right? That if you do good work, people will come to you. Meanwhile, we have will and trust on the internet that is out there eating everybody's lunch.
That's right. Massively eating people's lunch. And it only seems that digital marketplace is only going to get more. So we know that there has to be a fundamental shift within the estate planning attorney world in order to actually adapt to the changing market. And surprisingly enough, Greg DuPont has a solution for that. So do you want to talk a little bit about the mission and vision of what March to a Million is?
Well, imagine if you could evolve from just doing transactional work that may be referred to you by a financial advisor without any real relationship there other than a parasitic relationship, and you evolve from just doing good work to being part of a movement that is doing that good work for more people and changing lives, including your own and your staff's. And that's what, when we think about WSN, in its goal to impact 1 million families, that also includes the families of the attorneys that come and join our mission. Because when I started thinking about how do I impact 1 million families and save that group of people several $1 billion, I knew I couldn't do it alone. And that's where, by getting more people to understand that that more people, meaning attorneys, understand that change can be made. And as we were preparing for our conversation today, we were joking about how, part of my outline for the next 10 episodes was created by DuPont, my AI, and how that is changing everything. It's just reinforcing my contention that when I started WSN, which was, hey, the attorney does not need to be a financial genius. They need to be aware of the way to communicate in a little different way and to get out of their own way. to stop looking at this as I am pushing it too far with the clients when that I'm upselling the clients and this is distasteful. No, you're serving the clients. If you're asking them the right questions, you're getting to the right core. And this is why we brought on the training from Ari and people like that look to, what is the underlying concern that the client wants to have. And once you get the real story from them, then the solutions come fairly easily.
One of the big shifts that our listeners and attorneys need to have is this idea of I'm just running a law firm to building something that is a legacy platform. Now, you've said that on previous shows. Can you dive into that a little bit more deeply, please?
When we look at the practice of law, right, it has, for many attorneys, fallen into the realm of scrivener, that where it's a transaction, we are hired to perform this transaction, the document.
Mm-hmm.
The document is the God.
Mm-hmm.
We lose ourselves in the technique, in the comfort of I'm a good technician. I have prepared this good document. And the documents I produce now, thanks to not my AI, but systems that just about any attorney that's doing estate planning law now has, then that's really secondary to the strategies. And that's my bone of contention with our profession, is that we have given over the ground of the strategist to the financial services world.
Oh.
That they are the ones doing the estate planning, where attorneys are preparing documents, which is the lowest value element of it at this point in time. And so you're not building a business at this point in time anymore. You're building a leaky life raft.
Well, and with financial advisors being able to get their advanced designations in estate planning, right? Listen, sharks are in the water, man. And so now you talked about the documents, and let's extrapolate what with your 4D model, because documents is part of the foundation of that. But let's really just dive into this idea that WSN is a bigger movement. It's something that they can join that is going to provide them with lots of education and support to really transfer their practice into the 21st century. So let's talk about the 4D model, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So as we've been talking about the last few meetings together, the challenge that I have found that most attorneys face when trying to incorporate the broader planning elements is how to language it. How do I tell people that I've got these other tools that I can bring to our conversation to improve the overall outcome for you, without coming off sounding like I am a salesman, right? And we've wrestled with this internally, me and my team, for the last year and a half. How do we solve that problem? And what we've come up with at this point in time is the 4D estate plan. And that trademark phrase is designed to start with the conversation being focused on the 4 disciplines, all being tied together in the development of the estate plan. And then with our models, we take it down to the 1D, which is the document only plan, right? And then the 2D plan, which is the document and defend. We're going to create estate plans that will work when they are stress tested. And then the 3D, which is document, defend, and discover, where we've got this built out so that we're doing a snapshot in time for the client, letting them know exactly where they are. And then the 4D is we're also going to deliver a plan and deliver the outcome. And I think the case I was working on just before we got on to record this is a beautiful example of 4D in action. Husband and wife got adult kids. They're in the husband and wife clients of ours are in their late 60s.
Yeah.
And when we first met with them, the wife was very shaken because she was starting to feel that was losing her faculties. And they were going to meet after our meeting to find out what the results of the testing were. And she had a family history of dementia. And lo and behold, yeah, she was diagnosed with that early stages. And, I'm sure you have seen this in your travels, but when you get it early, the length, her mom lived till 90
Oof.
with the disease, right? And so we started by having our conversation, digging a little bit deeper than what would typically be done in an elder planning situation, right? And they're well off, okay? And if they have a long retirement journey, well, their broker, and I will use that word appropriately in this situation, they had sold them some stocks that were not necessarily inappropriate, but it was not anything that was coordinated, as you'll see. And then that same bank broker, sold them, an annuity, an indexed fixed annuity that, again, in and of itself is not appropriate, but there was no coherent strategy. And so now we brought together the legal expertise of, well, how about if we create an irrevocable trust? How about if we create also a revocable trust? How about now we move some of these assets into the irrevocable trust so that they are now protected down the road?
Yeah.
Okay. And then with that, what's left, because our starting point always is, how do we do this without affecting their current lifestyle
Yeah.
cost? And so now we move a little bit more into a income annuity that'll start in a couple of years because it's treated differently from the perspective of the long-term care costs and those kind of things. So long story made short, we made probably $1 million savings for the family in terms of
Wow.
loss when it's all said and done, just by being able to tie those four disciplines together.
Well, this was the first of the series. So let's talk about what the series is going to cover.
Well, we're going to dive back into things like that 40 estate plan I just mentioned. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk a little bit more about how we are going to develop and deliver the lead flow for the attorneys that are all built around the idea that, hey, we want this true fiduciary type of approach. And we're gonna kind of take a little more deep dive into some marketing concepts and those type of things as we build this all out. So hopefully by the time we get through these 10 odd podcasts here, maybe the attorney has decided, yep, I'm going to join the march. I understand what's really going on here. I understand the nature, because it's been 40 episodes, if not 50, since we really dug into what is the problem out there. So we're going to go back into that a little bit during these next 10 episodes as well to make sure that, they know, the attorneys listening to this program know really what the problem is out there and know that they have the capacity to be part of the solution.
Well, and here's the super cool thing, because I've seen the plan. If you just listen to these 10 episodes and implement what Greg's going to be teaching, your practice is going to be fundamentally changed, right? Not only are you going to be changed, but your practice is going to be able to be changed. All right. So obviously they need to subscribe to this and pay attention to the next 10 episodes, but what else should they do?
Well, go to www.joinwsn.com, find out a little bit more about us. Maybe check out my book on Amazon, Retirement Tax Trap, get more of a feel for what is out there, what the problem is. We've talked about that on this show as well. But it's a clarion call. We need to take action, or a lot of consumers are going to get hurt real bad.
Well, and I appreciate your consumer focus, but attorneys are going to also be hurt bad, because what is going on in the estate planning attorney world is going to fundamentally change. And if you don't build the relationships that you talk about in the WSN structure, a lot of these attorneys are just going to be pen and doc, it's going to be wildly transactional, and they're not going to really have the quality of life that they studied so hard for and that they've worked really hard for. Yeah.
They will not exist as estate planning attorneys in just a handful of months. I mean, we used to talk about years, but it is literally months at this point in time.
Yeah, it's moving super fast, dude, and it's a little bit scary. And this is that clarion call. So if you know another attorney that you have had these sorts of conversations, I don't know, over dinner or drinks, and you're hanging out and saying, "Gosh, what are we going to do?" We are your solution at joinwsn.com. This is the future of estate planning attorney life, and you need to get on the trolley, man. You really, really do. And all you need to do is go to joinwsn.com, and we'll also make sure that we have links to Greg's new book in the show notes so that you can download it, you can read it. Can you listen to it? Did you do the audiobook?
I have not done the audiobook yet.
Oh, dude, you're killing me. Oh, come on, man. Okay, anyway, we'll put that on your to-do list. But please make sure that you go ahead and get a copy of the book so you can see what the future of estate planning really looks like. So for Greg, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Thank you for listening to the March to a Million podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and get in touch with our team by visiting our website at www.wealthsolutionsgroup.biz, or give us a call at 614-432-8065. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Wealth Solutions Network. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice from qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have.